and then get behind it, so live it. If you truly believe in it and you are passionate about it, then you can become a missionary for it. You have to do that as a leader. It's got to be what you truly believe. You have to be genuine.
Hi, I'm Belden Mankus. Welcome to the Purposeful Strategist, the podcast that shifts the conversation about purpose and strategy from what organizations should do to what business leaders actually are doing and what they've learned along the way. My guest today is Darius Hughes, General Manager in the UK and Ireland for Moderna, the pharmaceutical and biotechnology company. 3 years ago, while working for competitor Pfizer, he launched that company's COVID-19 vaccine in the UK. Today, he's overseeing the construction of Moderna's manufacturing and research centre in Harwell, Oxfordshire. It will be Britain's first site dedicated to the manufacture of mRNA vaccines. A big believer in the potential of mRNA technology and personalised medicine, he wants to see Britain at the forefront of this rapidly evolving science. Darius, welcome to the Purposeful Strategist podcast.
Thank you very much, Belden. It's lovely to be here.
Right. On this podcast, we explore the interaction of purpose and strategy, and I'm particularly interested in how businesses put purpose to work in their organizations and how they use it to help shape business strategy. So let's start by defining our terms. What do you understand purpose to be in the context of a business?
Purpose really in the context of our business is the very foundation of what we're here for. It's what makes you get up in the morning. It's what makes you go that extra mile. It's the reason to believe. It's really something that is the foundation and the bedrock of not just the business itself, but for the people who are working in the business.
And how would you describe Moderna UK's purpose?
Moderna UK's purpose is taken directly from the global purpose. And Moderna has been a biotech company now for about 14 years. And the work that our founders have done on purpose started from the very beginning, really. And I think it's what's driven them from the very beginning of the science of messenger RNA and all those years working on the science of messenger RNA until the pandemic really came and lit the fire underneath this science. But we've taken the UK purpose directly from that global purpose that's been there for a number of years now. It was built up from wanting to deliver a true partnership in the UK for the delivery of messenger RNA and the promise of messenger RNA to the people of the UK.
I'm going to read two statements, one from the US global website and one from the UK website. The US one says, our mission is to deliver the greatest possible impact to people through mRNA medicines. And the UK one says to explore the potential of mRNA science to help create a new generation of medicines for patients. Talk me through how you got to the UK one from the global one, because I think that's a very interesting challenge.
Yes, and it's deliberately slightly different because we are some 10 years behind. Moderna has chosen the UK to be its second home, really, a place where we can come, we can learn, we can discover, and we can really deliver for British patients and be part of the science and education and government ecosystem here. Because we're at the beginning of that journey, and to make it very personal to the people that are working for Moderna, but also for the people who are interacting with Moderna here in the UK, we wanted to take it back a little bit and talk about the potential of the science. We have one product at the moment, a COVID vaccine, that a lot of people have heard about. But the potential of the messenger RNA science in delivering medicines and vaccines for people here in the UK, and that promise is really integral to where we began talking about our purpose. The UK market is very different. We have a health system here that is centralized. It is one system. So we have to work in a very partnership way here in the UK to get these medicines and vaccines to people. And we don't have any impact at all until we get them to people. And so our purpose is really about making sure that we deliver the promise of the messenger RNA to the people through partnering with the system.
What I hear is you've had to tailor it a little bit to reflect the reality of the market you're in.
Yeah, so we started on the journey a couple of years ago. I've been with Moderna 3 years, and for the first year it was me So really, it was very simple to define the purpose. It was to get me to be up in the morning and getting these vaccines in and licensing the products, getting ourselves set up a full pharmaceutical company. But after the first year, I had a leadership team. So we have a leadership team across the traditional functions, whether that be research and development, manufacturing, regulatory science, quality, medical, and all of the commercial functions as well. And so we went away for a couple of days as a leadership team, and we decided that we were going to start a 5-year journey. So we put a 5-year vision in place, and we, alongside that, discussed our purpose, our mission. It took a few iterations after that and a number of months, and I think it's a living document now. But that's where the journey began. So we talked about the company, where we wanted it to be, what we wanted to achieve in the UK. And it's an amazing feeling, really, because it was very much a blank piece of paper. In a lot of companies where you come in a leadership role, there's been quite a lot of history. And so you are already going into an organization that has a culture. It has a number, probably, of these long-term visions and strategies and things that the leadership have put in place. But for Moderna UK, it was brand new. It was me, and at the time, I think there was 10 of us. So we had a unique opportunity to really forge a vision for the UK business from 22 through to 27, and to put around that a very clear mission and purpose of how we wanted to do that and the strategies in place to do that. And that's probably, in my career, a unique opportunity, I think. And really one of the reasons why I came to Moderna, that opportunity to set something up from scratch, to do something from the beginning and feel very connected to it. And that initial 2-day workshop led about the next 6 months iterations, and we constructed our mission and our purpose, our vision and our strategic approach in the next 5 years. And underpinning that, we spoke about our culture, values and behaviors and our mindsets, which are across the whole of One Moderna. And really bringing all of those pieces together, I think that was the beginning of our 5-year journey to get to this place of really being a partner in the UK to deliver the promise of messenger RNA medicines and vaccines.
Yeah. You ramped up really quickly. You sort of, in 9 months, did what might have otherwise taken 2 or 3 years to do. And I assume that was a lot of recruiting. It was you, then it was 10. How many people are there now?
This is the Moderna way. We didn't come to this place to do things in an ordinary fashion. This is one of the dynamic things about Moderna and how quickly we can work and how we collaborate so quickly. So it was 1 in year 1, it was 10 in year 2, it'll be 100 in year 3, and it'll be 200 in year 4. So it's exponential, really, in the level of growth that we're going through.
As you're doing that degree of recruiting, how did the purpose play into all of that? Do people join because of that? Do you screen for, are they aligned with our purpose?
That's a fascinating point. In today's marketplace, purpose is a huge driver for recruitment. So now we were very lucky. We had a brand that went from 0 to hero in 12 months, and everyone had heard of it, Moderna. I worked in vaccines for over a decade now, and if you'd have asked people before the pandemic what vaccine they'd been put in their arm, what an R number was, what an antibody was, they wouldn't have had a clue. And the pandemic really highlighted all those things, and it put Moderna at the forefront of a lot of people's minds. So we had an advantage, no doubt about that. But when people come to look at a company, I think the purpose is becoming more and more critical for how they identify with the company and what drives them, because work is a large proportion of your life. There isn't really this balance anymore. It's just all integral into it. And therefore, if you want to live a purposeful life, you have to have a purposeful job. Being part of a purposeful organization is key to people. And I think particularly the younger you are, this is becoming more and more. Are we going to act responsibly? Are we going to be inclusive and diverse? Are we going to be looking after the planet and having a very appropriate corporate responsibility? And are we doing good? Are we impacting the people on this planet for good? So there's definitely a role in the early initial parts of recruitment of how you attract the talent and how you get the greatest people into your interviewing. And then I think the purpose plays a huge role in your interviewing process as well. And we have values and behaviors and we have mindsets. And these are across the whole of Moderna. And when we interview, we very much talk very openly about the company, about how we behave, what we expect from people. That we expect them to be very collaborative. We expect them to be very curious, very bold in their actions. And it is a relentless place to work. It's very demanding. You are asked a lot of when you come here. And in order to really get the most out of people and to really engage people and put a fire in their belly, they have to be really believing that the purpose is something that they want to get out of bed for and get behind. And so during the interview process, we're very open about that. And we do probe quite a lot about that and ask questions around previous experiences and examples of when they've shown these kind of behaviors. And we are, very upfront about the kind of person that we are looking for and the fact that it's not easy to work for Moderna because of the ambition that we have and the level of expectation that is born from our purpose, because we have an incredible responsibility to deliver the promise of this messenger RNA science.
Yeah.
In order to do that, you have to be a disciple, you have to be a missionary, you have to be someone who is truly believing of that. Otherwise, it can overwhelm you. And actually, you're probably better working somewhere else and has a different way of doing things, a different pace, a different kind of attitude. So, I think the purpose runs through from before you're even recruited, through your recruitment process, through that time when you join the company, and then continues as a thread through. And that's what motivates you to carry on.
Do you think people who choose to go into pharma and biotech tend to be more purpose-driven than perhaps in other industry sectors or not?
I think the pharmaceutical industry does have a very clear purpose, and you can certainly feel as though you are achieving something in this. And we do get a lot of people joining with a very high level of purpose. And it's always surprising to me in the pharmaceutical industry how many healthcare professionals we actually have joining the industry. And a lot of them are quite skeptical when they're joining, because, of course, when you're a healthcare professional, you have a very clear purpose. That clear purpose is normally sitting in front of you with a problem. And so it's very clear. It's also very easy to understand and touch and feel and see in front of you. When people join the pharmaceutical companies, it's not necessarily quite as clear sometimes because it's not quite as obvious and in front of you. But I think that you do get a lot of people who would like to do good and would like to continue the work that they've done as healthcare professionals and looking after people, the benefits for public health or for individual health. Do we get more than in other industries? I'm sure that other industries have got great purposes and great reasons to deliver a number of different industries. But I think that there's probably, in general, a higher level of purpose-driven attainment in the pharmaceutical industry.
When you're in healthcare directly, as you say, your purpose is sitting in front of you. Are there things you're doing to help your employees still feel connected, aware of the impact that they're having or at least working towards?
Yeah, I think this is very important. I do talk about this a lot, basically talking about that person that you're impacting. Whatever they're doing, the thread is connected through to the patient, to the person who is being impacted, and then the impact that can have on that person. I would talk about, for example, the fact that when you are manufacturing a small piece of our product, maybe the lipid or something, what you're doing is you're producing the encapsulation for the messenger RNA that then is put into a vial, that then is put into a human, that then protects them from a particular disease, and then maybe that reduces their level of hospitalization, maybe it cures a disease. So I think it's important that you try and connect what people are doing with the outcome. And we have the beauty of the outcome in pharmaceuticals generally being that we have improved someone's life. How is it that a lawyer signing a contract in a darkened room at 2:30 a.m. after spending months and months negotiating with a supplier, how has that got anything to do with ultimately that end user where it prevented somebody from getting a respiratory infection? And it's connecting those dots and being very purposeful again in the way that you do that, so that people can understand and connect for themselves.
You've used the term mindsets a couple times as we've been chatting here. I'm interested to hear what you might call out as a few that you'd say that's a Moderna mindset. That's what we're looking for or hoping to engender in people.
We have a number of them, and they're frequently used in the business: pivoting fearlessly, operating with dynamic range, obsessing about learning. There's a number of them that we are quite deliberate in talking about them and expressing when people are showing those behaviors and where possibly they are not showing those behaviors and mindsets. I was talking earlier about the interviewing process. We talk about the fact that you're going to be expected to do a lot of different things and go from strategies to tactics all in the same day. We talk about a lot of the time we've got to pursue options in parallel so that we're doing things together, making sure that we've got a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, just in case things change. And we talk about pivoting fearlessly in the face of new data, because the way that the industry is moving and particular messenger RNA is moving, you have to be very, very flexible in your approach. And we also talk about the amount of learning you've got to do continuously out there. Our science is moving so quickly that we've really got to be obsessed about doing those learnings and continuing to always build ourselves. So we talk about these types of mindsets, and what's unusual about Moderna compared to some of the other companies that I've worked with is that it's a very continuous and purposeful discussion around those mindsets and how you are expected to behave and how those behaviors impact ultimately our patients. Again, it's that speed of action, speed of thought, working together and getting things done to deliver to patients that is continuously discussed, and our mindsets are really core to all of those behaviors.
I can see how that spread widely really gives you a huge amount of momentum and acceleration in terms of making stuff happen. How do you manage the issue of burnout? Because this is an issue in any purpose-driven organization, that people, they're committed to the purpose and they know one day saved here is a whole bunch of impact later on. How do you manage that? How do you help people manage that?
Yeah, it's crucial, and you can very easily get swept up with it. Look, we've got a number of different things in place, all the usual sort of HR policies and procedures. And we've got excellent healthcare, we've got excellent mental health care provision. So we've really put in place support over and above a traditional level of support that you would get in terms of the physical things that are there. We've got private healthcare, we've got a fantastic helpline that you can phone up. We've got not just you, but everyone in your family is entitled to mental health support, psychological support, etc. So all those things are great and they are appreciated and utilized. But I think the main thing is the culture that you drive around that, and the leadership and acting and behaving as you want other people to behave as well. We have deliberate times where we stop. We have recharge days. We have times where we stop and celebrate. We have these quarterly town halls where we come together and we talk about how things have gone. We celebrate. We look at successes. We talk about things and talk about people. And then we as leaders encourage people to take that time off when they need it and recharge. During the pandemic, I didn't take any time off and ultimately burnt out. But since then, I've led with intent and made sure that I'm not on 24/7. I don't expect emails back at certain times of the day. We've put rules and regulations in around that, and you allow people to find their balance. So it doesn't always work. You still do have to have safety nets in place and make sure that you've got all the right procedures and processes in place to help people. But I think if you can lead with intent of making sure that people understand that they can take that time, they can go to their kids' school plays, they can go and make sure that they're still doing their hobbies and things like that, and plan that time with intent, then I think that helps people as well understand that, yes, work hard, but we also play hard.
Let's turn to strategy. How would you describe the business strategy for Moderna UK and Ireland?
Our business strategy really is to partner with our institutions here in the UK, and we have a unique system in the UK where there's one NHS, the payer, and that's government-led, and we have some very strong institutions that help that. Our strategy has always been to come in and partner with those agencies and organizations and government to see how we can best impact the patient and deliver against the promise of messenger RNA science. Maybe a different strategy to a number of our competitors. We want to say, look, we've got these opportunities for you. We've got infectious disease vaccines, we've got cancer medicines, we've got rare diseases, but we understand that bringing these in is going to take effort from your point of view and your side. And it's going to cost money, it's going to impact the service, etc. But let's begin with the end in mind in terms of how can we improve patient health and care and partner with you along the way to understand how we can get these medicines and vaccines to people, because they don't make any impact until you get them to people. It's very difficult in the UK to get the uptake of medicines and vaccines through to people because there's a number of stage gates that have been deliberately put in place to save money, because we know we're not a rich nation. We've got problems here, and with a £200 billion bill every year at the NHS, the last thing they really want is to be spending more. So we have an intent to come in and do things in a very different way. How can we work together? How can we partner? How can we think of different ways of purchasing? How can we think of different ways of working together on research, on science, on clinical trials, on manufacturing? And I think our strategic partnership with the government that we are in the middle of now is a testament to that. We're building this manufacturing site. We're going to be a pandemic partner for them and be on these shores, linking in with our R&D ecosystem, doing development here, doing clinical trials here, and really delivering and being part of the system to try and help ultimately with some of the big challenges that we've got here with our healthcare system. Can we move it from a more treatment service to a preventative service? Can we keep people out of hospital? Can we remove the amount of time that doctors and nurses need to spend on administration and on filling out forms and those sort of things? And can we ultimately try and be part of the solution?
Since you and I first spoke about you coming on as a guest, and today there's been an election and there's a new government, does that change your strategy, or is it, no, we're still partnering, the kind of bones of it all remain?
We were obviously preparing for a change in government and have had some very good discussions previously in opposition, and then just recently this last week with a couple of the ministers. No change in strategy, continues to be partnering, continues to be working together for solutions, and continues to see how we can try and get together and solve some of the biggest problems that we've got. The new health secretary has been very clear that there's significant problems in the NHS, and it's going to take a whole group of people to come together, much like we did in the pandemic. Healthcare professionals, industry, government, the NHS, all working together against some of these big problems. I see a continuation of what we're trying to do here, and a great partnership forming with the new government as well. I like to call myself a paranoid optimist, constantly being optimistic about everything that might happen, but paranoid that it might not.
I assume that drives a lot of your plan A, plan B, plan C kind of approach.
Absolutely.
What advice would you give to other CEOs as they think about purpose and strategy?
If you're an entrepreneur and you're setting up your own company, the reason that you are there is because you have a very clear purpose and you're very passionate about it. But if you are going to join a company, then make sure that you are joining one that you can truly get behind that purpose. It gives you so much more energy. It gives you so much more reason to believe that you can actually do some good. And that really drives your performance, I believe. And then get behind it. So live it. If you truly believe in it and you are passionate about it, then you can become a missionary for it. You have to do that as a leader. It's got to be what you truly believe. You have to be genuine. So really choose somewhere where it's got a great one, and then really live it and believe in it and then push it. And then make sure that it's being embedded in your organization. By leading those behaviors, those mindsets, and by really living the purpose and believing in the purpose, you will then get that to be impregnated across your organization, and that will drive success. And I really do believe that, and I've seen that you will have a motivated, a passionate team who will go that step beyond, and they will step up, they will deliver. And look, it's not easy out there. People have got a lot of things that are troubling them at home. The world's a difficult place at the moment, a lot of turmoil around. And if you can be in a place where you turn up for work, you love what you do, you believe what you do, you feel as though you are adding something, then that's going to motivate you and that's going to help you, not just in your work life, actually. Work is part of life. It's silly to think that there's this balance. It's not really. You have a life, and within that life, you do some work. And if that is a great place to be and you're enjoying it and you're feeling as though you're adding value and are purposeful, then that enriches your life. And therefore, you have a better life. The balance thing, I don't know. I'm not sure if I've ever had a work-life balance, to be totally honest. I've just had a life that's had some great work in it.
The whole concept of work-life balance seems to me to imply that life is the good stuff and work is the bad stuff. What I hear you saying is, no, embrace work that to you adds value to your life.
Absolutely. And you look at the happiest people on the planet, they're the ones that are doing the work and they're really loving their work. People say to me, "Oh, I want to run a beach bar in Ibiza and dance to music." That's work, guys. That's pretty hard work. Those guys are up there. They're working 12, 14-hour shifts,
Absolutely.
but they must have such a great time. Yeah, I'm sure they do. Why can't you do that here? No, you're absolutely right. Have a great working life as part of your great life.
One thing I just want to come back to that you're talking about how you really have to embrace the purpose and then express it. I know often in working with clients, I'll find myself saying something, sharing with them a possibility or whatever. And it's not until I've said it that I realize, oh, actually, I do believe that. Do you ever find that when you're talking to your own colleagues or potential partners, do you find yourself saying things that it's like, oh, yeah, actually, that is right. That is what I think.
Yes, absolutely. And you do get this, particularly when you're breaking these boundaries and working in slightly different ways. I think I'm finding this particularly with our partners because we're being very open and transparent and sharing all sorts of things that I think pharmaceutical companies generally would be very reticent to share some of the data that we have and some of the insights and things like that. And so I was talking away the other day and talking to them and I thought, oh, crumbs, I've just really given them a real nugget there and an insight. And I wonder how that's going to go down. Yeah. And actually the response from the customer is, oh, that's incredible, Darren, amazing. We've never heard that or seen that before, or that level of transparency. And they start opening up and then you understand that there is a true belief that working in partnership like this will make a difference. And the more open and transparent you can be, actually that level of insight that you both have then into the different organizations and how it might work could have a real benefit for patients. 3 years in and every year I reinvent myself totally and the organization reinvents itself and it changes exponentially. But then within that journey, there's still so many times when you just have an aha and a moment where you think, yeah, I'm very privileged to be in a position like this, doing the kind of things that I'm doing. So it's still refreshing.
I can hear your enthusiasm coming through. Anything we haven't touched on that you'd like listeners to know?
No, I think it went far beyond where I was expecting it to go already, Belton.
Darius, again, let me thank you for joining us and for sharing both a really exciting journey I think you and Moderna are on, and personally looking forward to the benefits as I get older, perhaps, of some of those things that you're developing.
Indeed.
And joining us here, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, real pleasure.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Purposeful Strategist. Please email any suggestions or questions to belden@menkes.com. And if you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks again, and join us soon for the next episode of The Purposeful Strategist.